Say hello to the all-new Mercedes-AMG A45 S, the hottest and the fastest hatchback that's on sale in the country right now. So is it the perfect performance car for our roads, or is it just too hardcore? Well, we have the car with us today, so let's find out. The moment you hop inside this car, well, you know it means serious business. Everything here is tuned for performance and everything is so sporty, so racy. Now, first things first, the steering wheel, of course, it's flat bottomed and it is a typical AMG steering. And then you have the seats, which are body hugging sport seats. So you are really in that mood where you want to drive it fast. Now, the moment you get going, the first thing you notice is how stiff this car is, how stiff everything in this car is. In default mode, it starts in comfort setting, but it feels so race car like. There is so much noise, there is so much of movement inside the car that you can't really mistake it for a regular Mercedes. It is an AMG, a hardcore, blue-blooded AMG at that. Now, coming back to the performance, well, this is powered by a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged engine, and the engine is called M139. Now, this is currently the most powerful 4-cylinder engine in the world because this develops 415 bhp and 500 Newton meters of torque. It only weighs 1550 kilograms. It is a hatchback. It is a pocket rocket of sorts. Let's give you some performance numbers. This does 0 to 100 in less than 4 seconds. And when you're driving this car, well, of course it shows because this is a mad car. On the road, honestly, like you won't find a road wide enough or long enough for this car to extract the maximum performance out of this car because it is just a wild ride. The acceleration is brutal, no doubt, and the way the momentum builds up is terrific and mind-numbing. To be honest, the A45S feels every bit as fast and vicious as a V8 AMG, which is also why Mercedes markets it as a compact sports car and not a hot hatch. Now, the other thing is, of course, it's an AMG, so it makes those typical AMG sounds. It has pops and crackles. And in sport or sport plus mode, or even in race mode, well, this is a crazy car in the sense it is absolutely wild. I absolutely love what Mercedes has done with this car. And the great thing about this engine is the refinement, it's the performance, and it's also the mid-range. Plus, there's virtually no turbo lag. So this engine, it is a small engine and it is fixed with a big turbo, but despite of that, it goes all the time. Even when you're driving in the city, there's a hint of turbo lag, but then it's not noticeable at all. Playing along nicely with the engine's hot-headedness is the A45's 8-speed dual-clutch automatic gearbox. Shifts are brutally quick and seamless, and it's also worth mentioning that this 8-speeder is more responsive and less jerky than the 7-speed DCT of the lesser A35 AMG. Apart from that, it is an all-wheel drive variant. This has the 4MATIC all-wheel drive Mercedes system, but then it's primarily a front-wheel drive car. So when you drive it enthusiastically around a set of corners, you can feel that this is primarily a front-wheel drive car because it is sort of pulled from the front. It's not like a rear-wheel bias AMG version like the sedans usually you get from Mercedes-AMG. At the same time, it is just phenomenal. The way this thing takes corners, it feels like a race car actually. The 4MATIC Plus system of the A45S features a mechanical differential at the front axle and a clever twin-clutch electronic differential at the rear axle. The all-wheel drive system can send up to 50% of the torque to the rear wheels, while the electronic diff can channel all of that to either of the rear wheels. There's a surprise element in this car because it has a drift mode. Yes, it is quite similar to the one that is available with the likes of E63 AMG. But on this one, well, the front axle is not disconnected permanently. When you are in drift mode, actually, you will enjoy driving this car a lot because it feels more like a proper performance car because the traction control is least intrusive, as in it's off, and you have to be in manual mode, and then it feels more rear biased. But if you floor the throttle pedal aggressively, well, that's when the rear just steps out. So you have to be careful. I quite enjoyed driving it in drift mode because I wasn't planning to drift, but then it feels more lively. It has that added layer of adjustability that you get because of the drift mode. But that is just for fooling around. If you want to go really fast, you want to extract all the performance that this engine has to offer, well, I suggest you stick to the race mode with the traction control in sport mode, and of course not the drift mode, because then it just gets a little too lively. So whenever you're driving this car, you get in that mood of that boy racer mood, because you can't drive this car leisurely, you can't drive this car slow. It is a fast car and it has to be driven hard everywhere, because even if you drive it in the city, it's not that comfortable. The ride is quite harsh, and it scrapes over speed breakers quite easily. You have to go take those speed breakers at an angle, otherwise you are going to scrape the front splitter and even the underbody. So that's not a nice feeling, because in India you're not going to find the perfect sort of road to daily this car. But on a racetrack, well, of course it is just phenomenal, because I'm driving it around these fast corners, and I can tell you this is one of the best handling performance cars that I've ever driven, because it feels so good. The size is so right. It's already so small, it shrinks around you, and this is just brilliant car. Inside, the A45S is every bit as luxurious as a mug should be. You get all the gizmos and luxuries, including the latest MBUX touchscreen infotainment, a Burmester sound system, and more. Sure, it's not exactly practical or comfortable like a regular A class, but then if you've got those things in mind, you should probably look elsewhere. So on the whole, I think it's quite hard not to fall in love with the A45 S AMG. It is definitely the hottest hatchback that has ever come to India. It's mad, it's crazy, it is bonkers. Of course, at nearly 1 crore rupees, this is not cheap, but then the sort of performance it delivers, the thrills you get, they are unparalleled. And of course, in that sort of price segment, there are more cars which are more comfortable, which are more easy to live with, because this one, well, it just can't shake off that AMG-ness from its soul. You know, even in comfort mode, it feels like it's intoxicated. It still has that AMG hangover, because it moves around, it shakes all the time, and the ride is just plain hard. So yes, this is not the most practical performance car that you can buy in India, and in terms of size, in terms of space also, it's not the best. But what I absolutely love about this car is that it has got a lot of character. And yes, for that sort of customer who wants to stand out, who wants a performance car that pulls at their heartstrings, irrespective of the price, irrespective of the practicality, I think the A45S, it is in a class of its own.